Welcome, welcome to all of you guys that are joining us after the spring game. Thank you for doing it. For those of you that are watching this maybe tomorrow morning or Sunday afternoon, whenever, thank you for choosing our podcast to watch. This is the Triple Option. How are you doing, AB? How was the spring game for you?
I'm doing good, Kev. It was, I enjoyed watching it. For what it was, the
That's going to
coverage
be
was,
an unpopular opinion there, AB.
well, I don't care.
I don't
I
know.
really don't.
That seems unlike you to not care about others' opinions.
I mean, I respect opinions. I just think people are very hasty to make one. Um, I don't think that they look at the big picture. I think they just look at the little picture and don't take the time to reason things through. Yeah, I mean, the coverage was horrible, and is going to I think that that's going to skew people's thoughts on the game overall because it was so god awful. They kept cutting to interviews and horrible commercials and bad
Really?
camera angles and misplays, and it was really really terrible. Um, I think that that's going to create some negative bias of the outcome of the game. But look, it was a spring game. I mean, it was quick whistles. It was Jordan's not allowed to run. It was limited number of plays. It was a defensive scheme that was vanilla, and they played coverage the whole time. It was a scrimmage. And a very vanilla scrimmage at that. What about you, Kev? You were in the stadium. What'd you think?
Yeah, so I was in the stands. I got to go to the spring game. Shout out to Will and Steve, two guys that walked up to me and introduced themselves. So it was nice to meet you guys.
Will and
Uh,
Steve, you better be in here.
they Steve left a little early, so I think he was trying to
Oh,
catch me on the instant reaction. So shout out Steve. But no, I thought it was a good time. I think it's gonna be easy to create narratives out of this, especially like
Jordan Travis sucks narratives.
Jordan Travis sucks. All the quarterbacks suck. Um,
We can't win more than 6 games.
we can't win more than 6 games. I think what if I'm gonna say anything about this, I think our secondary might be elite.
Ooh,
I think it
interesting.
might be. Although let me explain something before I get too ahead of myself. I need to explain this for myself as well. Um, so I don't know if you were able to see this on the film, but for probably 80% of the plays, they were in just straight cover two,
hmm
cover two man.
Yep.
So you got the two deep safeties, you got man across the board. One of these linebackers is going to be here, and then, you know, something like this, right? So straight man across the board, two deep safeties. I will always remember when I was in high school, we ran an air raid offense. And when you, I remember walking up to my offensive coordinator and asking, so when the defense is in cover two man, like what kind of passing play do you do? Like how do you beat cover two man? And he goes, you run the football.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, okay, well, if this guy that throws the football 90% of the time tells me in cover two man, you run the ball, um, I think he might have a point. So you got to take this with a grain of salt. Um, but yeah, the throwing game is naturally going to struggle. I think your corners, even your second corners, looked really really solid against this wide receiver core, which I think is still probably the weakest part of your offense. If I were to,
Outside of the tight end group.
you mean Wyatt Rector, touchdown Rector?
Hey, hold on. Shout out to a good friend of the show, Brendan Sinone, who's been the Wyatt Rector fan club leader. Brendan texted me during the game and said, please shout me out for Wyatt Rector scoring a touchdown because I guess he was getting a lot of flack about calling Rector the number one tight end.
He had a big reception too.
He did.
He
He
was
did.
running pretty decent routes.
I thought he blocked well. I thought he ran pretty good routes. He looks athletic enough. I mean, yeah, I think it's tough to not that it's a good thing. Like that's a very low floor, but yeah, I mean, he does look like your number one tight end out there.
Yeah, which I mean, you already know what you're gonna get out of Cam McDonald. I don't think he's
hmm
gonna
No,
change. Jackson West has the Johnny Wilson Jr. problem of
he can't catch the ball.
They can't catch the ball. So we have multiple guys that have really high upsides, really high athletic upsides, and Johnny Wilson Jr. and Jackson West that can't catch the football,
Yep.
which is a problem. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I watched mostly the secondary because I figured that you would be harder pressed to watch it. I thought all the guys looked really solid. There was no one that screamed as a weakness, and even I mean when you're playing cover two man, it kind of makes life easier, right? You can get beat over the
Hmm.
top, and if you got that safety help, but
Yep.
yeah, I was super impressed. I think they did cheat a little bit like that. I don't know if you guys were able to watch the goal line stuff they did at the very
Yeah.
beginning
Yep.
um where Sam McCall got that pick six. He totally cheated on that route, by the way.
Absolutely did.
It was man coverage, and it was the exact same play that the ones had just run on their first play in goal line, and the twos ran it, and Sam McCall cheated and got an interception and made himself look good. So I thought that was funny.
I thought so too, and I really thought that that was really a theme for the night. I thought the defense kind of knew what was coming the whole time. They dared them to run the football. They were content with letting them run the football and trying to get stops down in the red zone. And I thought the offense actually running wise was great. I mean, I thought they had a lot of diversity in the run game. We saw way more jet and motion throughout the scrimmage than we've seen in the past, and I think that that's a nod to Alex Atkins and some of his background. Um, I know Kenny was not a big motion guy, and it looks like Atkins is and wants to incorporate that more. That opens things up, and that's going to open things up for your passing game. I think that there's still going to be a more heavy play action type of team off of off of run action. You're going to be boots. You're going to be some sprint out stuff. I think that that's who they are as a passing game. But that fits kind of what Mike is as an offensive mind. He wants to be a vertical thrower. Somebody had asked me earlier if about Mike throwing the ball in the middle of the field. And I've never felt like that was his MO or his calling
No.
card as a passing game guy. He's always been a slot seam kind of guy or a one-on-one on the outside. So as you see those things in the lack of passing game in the middle of the field, just remember that that's not what he is. That's not his bread and butter. And we'll revisit some of that stuff in the offseason. Yeah, but so I thought you got your gap run game going really well. Again, you're facing a lot of cover two man, so guys were turning and running. So some of those outside runs were a little misleading. Where they
Yeah.
bounced them, it's because corners were turning and running and getting themselves blocked because they were in man coverage. Yeah, but in general, I thought you got your counter game running, your gap stuff up front. I thought worked really well. I thought Lawrence Toafili,
I mean, he came out starting, right?
yeah, and I thought he looked pretty good. He looked patient. He looked patient. Some of the stuff that we talked about last year with him, he looked really patient running the football inside. It looked like he was more willing to take those 1 and 2 yard runs as they
Yep.
became available, knowing that you have to stay ahead of the chains. Obviously, Trey Benson looked really good,
Yeah, that's going to be the huge storyline coming out of this, I
but
feel
I
like.
think it's slightly misleading again because a lot of his runs happened on the exterior where he was able to bounce it to guys in bail coverage. So I think that's a little misleading, but I did think he looked good. I thought he had a lot of burst. I thought his vision was good. He made the right reads on those runs, I thought, for the most part. So that's a positive. Um, I actually thought the O-line played better than I expected they were going to. The first group, anyway. I thought Bless Harris held up pretty well. I thought Robert Scott held up well. Gibbons, Lyles, and Maurice Smith. I thought that five, I thought played pretty good. Beyond them, I'm gonna have to go back and look at it some more and give you a better idea. I don't know, Kev. What other thoughts you got? Hold on, let me shout out my boy Gator Kirk because he just asked. We've got a couple questions, and we'll get to more questions as we get along here and get done with our thoughts. But which running back enters the portal because they will be buried in the depth chart? I think that guy already did. Corey Wren. I
Yeah.
don't think you're going to see any other running backs go in the portal. I could be wrong, but we'll
Yeah, I
see.
think Rodney Hill knows he's got time. CJ,
Yeah, I think CJ Campbell is a guy that they might
he's
put
a
on scholarship.
walk-on,
Yeah, they might put him on scholarship. We'll see. But I think all those guys are going to get used. They used them all today. I think they're going to use them all throughout the season. They're going to need them. They're going to run the ball. That's what they do.
Yeah, as long as Mike Norvell's your head coach, I don't think the running back room is really something that I'm even
Right.
worried about. And I think that's one of the reasons they don't focus as much on it in the portal,
Right.
but or sorry, in recruiting. So yeah, the offensive line, Again, it was you can't watch two things at once. I was keeping my eyes on the secondary and kind of linebacker wide receiver situation, figuring that you would be watching a lot of the offensive line. But I think I agree with you to a point where we know that run blocking is going to be their strength. They're
Mhm.
going to want to run the football. I think none of the quarterbacks. The one thing I'll say about the quarterbacks is none of them are particularly making quick decisions. And I think part of that is the quarterbacks, and I think part of that is the wide receivers just weren't open.
Mhm.
There was one time where Jordan Travis missed an open receiver. He didn't see him, and on one of those rollouts, it was a cross play. But
Yeah.
other than that, I think that, I mean, you have some covered sacks, you had some real sacks, and you had some like
Quick
they
whistle
they
sacks.
barely touched
Yeah.
the aura around the quarterback and they blew the
Hmm.
whistle.
Right.
Um, so it's really hard to get an impact, like to get a feel for what that means.
Right.
The tackles especially, I'll say going against Jared Verse and Derek McClendon, that's not representative of the average game you're going to have this next season either.
Heck no.
So I think both those guys looked really good, had good. We're getting off the line well, but again, I think the film review later this week will be more telling with some of those things.
I well, let's stick to the quarterback room because I think that that's an area that
Will naturally
people are
generate discussion.
yeah people are going to want to talk about that. So Jordan, you made the comment about him not making quick decisions. I thought on rhythm throws the ball came out of his hand on time.
Yeah.
I thought overall offensively they played with a heck of a lot more pace than or tempo than I recall them playing with last year. Um, I thought, he had that one early throw to Ward out in the flat, and it really wasn't, it was going to error route. I mean, I thought he put that on the money
Yep.
out in front of him, all right on the sideline, nice catchable ball. His back foot hit the dirt, and he got the ball out. I thought that was an area that I saw some improvement. I thought he got them lined up and ready to run plays a lot quicker. I thought I thought he managed the offense a lot better today. I thought they got into the plays that they wanted to be into, as much as they were able to on the day. In this kind of setting with the limited playbook that they had, I thought he was able to get them into that stuff a lot quicker, so that they had more time on the play clock to kind of scan the field and make adjustments that they needed and get a good read. I thought the tempo of the offense was a lot better. Now, when when the ball gets snapped, yeah, there was still some weakness in pass blocking. I don't think they're going to be a great standard passing down kind of team. Without going out and getting another portal lineman and another portal wide receiver. Hopefully Winston Wright's available at some point and can help, but I'm not banking on that.
Yep.
But yeah, so those are some areas I thought Jordan really improved today. I thought his ball placement was not bad.
Yeah, if you go
Had
back through, I don't think there were that deep ball where he's thrown across his body was underthrown.
yeah,
That they got
mhm,
the pass interference on, but
yeah.
other than that, I can't think of many
I mean,
throws that he.
early had a ball on a slot fade I believe it was a slot fade to Ja'Kai Douglas where it should have been PI. They didn't call it.
Oh, where he got tripped
Um,
up and fell.
yeah, it was PI. That looked like a dime. I mean, I thought he had some balls. I thought he had some balls that were good spots, and were going to be catchable for chunk plays. And again, you eliminated his greatest strength, which is his running ability today with quick whistles and whatnot. So I this may not be popular, but I think he looks better. I think that there's still room for growth. I'm not saying he's a Heisman contender or anything like that, but I thought he looked better. And I think you need to continue to go out and try to find talent to surround him with to to try to mask his weaknesses.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that we know what Jordan Travis is. I don't think he's worse than last year, but I don't think, like, based off what I saw, I don't think it's like you're getting year two. The difference that Lamar Jackson made from year one to
Mhm.
year two at Baltimore. Like, I don't think you're getting
Right.
that change in Jordan
No.
Travis, but I think I think he's going to be a top 25 quarterback next year. And I think as long as there's not a wide receiver that's going to consistently win one-on-ones, uh, there's nothing he's going to be able to do, right? I don't think he's ever going to be that guy that just like throws receivers open, and that's a
No.
special college quarterback that can do
Mhm.
that. But I mean, I don't think I think there are successful teams that don't have those quarterbacks that have
Correct.
less athleticism than Jordan Travis. I don't think he's
Absolutely.
your problem.
No.
I think the wide receiver room is still an issue.
Mhm.
Well, let's stay on quarterbacks. So
Okay.
Tate Rodemaker, how'd you feel?
I thought Tate looked more poised today. Um, you talk about throwing guys open. I mean, he throws that back shoulder fade as good as any quarterback I can remember throwing it.
Yep,
And it sounds like a bold statement, but he really does. He's
it's
elite
his
at
throw.
throwing that ball. It is his throw. It is his throw. I think he's going to get knocked for that first pick down in the red zone drills, and it wasn't his.
Was that the
It wasn't.
Sam McCall pick?
Yeah, it wasn't his fault
Yeah,
at all. Sam cheated that the whole way and
he
jumped it.
100% did.
Yeah, so I'm not knocking him for that. I thought he looked more in control today. I don't think it's still easy to judge him because he's out there against that second offensive line that's really makeshift because you've got a couple guys that were out today. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I don't think he's ever going to be a great quarterback, sadly. I think he's better than he was. I think you could trust him to go in and play a couple series in a game. I'd really hate to see him go and have to start a game though.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I think Tate Rodemaker is one of those guys where as he goes along, that's kind of where he's gonna be, right? He's gonna be. I think he's getting to the point where he's a serviceable backup, and he's a guy
Yeah.
where you're just like, okay, we got a small lead, and I think he can hold on to it, or
Yeah.
like it's a close game. Like I don't know, he's not gonna lose you the game immediately. I agree with you on the poise. I think he made less really dumb decisions. I will say, like the drop snap, unacceptable. You can't be doing stuff
Mhm.
like that. And
No.
although it seems like he's cutting down on those brain farts, like they still happen, and that's something that can't happen as a quarterback, right? Like you just can't. Every mistake you make as a quarterback is a game defining mistake. So
Right.
yeah, I think there were a few throws where you would like it to be better. He overthrew Johnny Wilson Jr.
Mhm.
in the end zone,
Yeah, Johnny was wide open on that.
and there was another throw down the field where you're just like, okay, put a little bit more touch on this, and that's a touchdown. Um, so I think there's still some growth to be done that he can do. But teaching quarterbacks to throw, teaching strong arm quarterbacks to throw with touch is not an easy feat. It sounds like it'd be easy, but it's not. So if we don't get another transfer, okay. Well, tell me how you feel about AJ.
I think AJ looks like a very raw freshman.
He looks
mean,
like a
that's-
freshman.
Yeah, I think he looks like a very raw freshman. I don't think he's ready.
He So when I made my video before this, I said what I'm looking for is for AJ Duffy to make one read, two reads, throw the ball. Just if you can make two reads as a freshman, that's awesome.
Yep.
And you might be ready to go in the game. But what I saw consistently was one read, run, one read, run, run read, get rid of the pocket, run read, freeze. And I just don't think he's there yet. I think the game's fast for him.
Yeah.
Even if you
And
watch,
that's natural, right? I mean,
yeah,
he's got what 12 practices under his belt right now in a spring game.
with
mean,
an offensive line that's Swiss cheese.
I think that he's going to make I think he's going to make a massive leap between this year and next year, but I think he's also going to make a leap between today and the first game of the year. He's got an entire offseason now to get in the playbook and to try to understand and grasp that better. He's got an offseason to be throwing with those guys. He's got an offseason to meet with the coaches, and he's got film on tape now that he can go and study. That's not some other guy. That's not Brady White film, you know what I mean, or Jordan Travis film. He's got his own film that he can go and study now. So I expect him to make a leap. I still think Gator Kirk asked again. I still think Tate's probably your quarterback too. Heading into Duquesne, and we'll see at the end. As it stands right now, I don't expect them to get a transfer. I expect them to kick the tires and look around, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think people are setting themselves up for failure there.
I don't know if you'll be able to bring in a transfer who's a legitimate upgrade from Tate as a backup. That's okay being a backup.
Right.
That's going to pick up
Yeah.
the offense faster than AJ would, you know?
Correct. Yeah.
So
Correct.
it's just like this whole and honestly, if you ask me what position I think you need to improve to make this offense better, quarterback is not on my top 3. So
No. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's O-line, wide receiver, tight end, easily.
yep.
So let's talk about wide receivers.
Let's do it.
You can get a better look at them throughout the game, being at a wider picture there in the stadium. So give me your thoughts first.
Oh man, very disappointed in Johnny Wilson Jr. I like when I first saw him at practice, I saw him making some catches and he looked good. And when that kid makes catches, he is you see it on the field. He is a different kind of athlete than even all these Power 5 players. Like the kid is just big, fast, athletic.
Right. Yep.
Disappointed by the drops. Disappointed that's a continuing storyline. So hopefully that's something that just clicks with him one day. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just one of those things that they can't get. If I was Johnny Wilson Jr., I would pull over a quarterback a day and just have him throw a million passes at me. And like he needs to at a certain point you need to take it on yourself and improve. Right? There's not enough reps in practice for you to fix that problem. I think Micah Pittman and Ja'Kai Douglas look like your 2 best receivers right now. Kind of disappointed in Malik McClain. He wasn't getting separation. And honestly, none of the bigger receivers are getting any separation. There doesn't seem to be that outside receiver that's really like someone you can hang your hat on, and that's disappointing. You have 2 guys that are traditional slot bodies that I think are your best receivers right now, and
right.
I don't know. I don't think there's anybody you can trust to necessarily consistently win that backside on a trips.
And what's wild is I still thought they looked better than last year's group. And that's what's crazy to think about is how bad that group was last year.
Really not good.
I thought Johnny got open today.
He did. Yeah, he looked good
at different times. I didn't think. I mean, obviously the game plan defensively didn't help, and I don't think you're going to see a lot of that. I don't think you're going to see a lot of man under too deep throughout the course of a season with the way that they run the football, and having to defend Jordan Travis also as a runner. So I think that that's one thing to keep in mind here as we're talking about the wide receiver group is that I think that Malik McClain and Johnny Wilson are going to have different opportunities to go out there and schematically and compete as wide receivers. And I think that that's helpful for them. But they've got to go win. They got to go win against press coverage, and they've got to catch the football. But that's part of the things that happen when you have bigger guys at wide receiver is they can struggle against man coverage because they lack that foot speed and that foot quickness at the line of scrimmage to win. So they have to use their strength. And look, these guys go against each other every single day. So they know each other's moves. They know the strengths and weaknesses of one another. And, these DBs know how to stop these wide receivers. But we've seen these wide receivers go and win in practice, which is a positive. They didn't make as many plays today as we would have liked to have seen. But again, they weren't really set up to win today with so much man under too deep. So that's just one thing I'm going to keep in the back of my mind as I continue to evaluate that group. And we're going to look at it more and see, hey, did we miss opportunities at quarterback to throw the ball to him? Did quick whistles blow opportunities? We know. I mean, Johnny Wilson's got a touchdown if he catches the ball. Tate just puts any touch on that one in the end zone. So how much differently we were talking about him if he makes a play there, that ball gets to him accurately, and he's able to score a touchdown. Yeah, I tend to agree with you, though. Ja'Kai Douglas and Micah Pittman look like your 2 best guys right now. Just running around out there. I think we know what Ja'Kai is. He's a slot fade guy that you're going to be able to get down the field and win. He's going to win routes against safeties.
And he did
I,
win one early, and
yep, yeah.
I think there
They
wasn't a
just
good
did.
pass
I
to
mean,
him or something.
yeah. I mean, they didn't go back to that stuff that much. They're not going to. It's a scrimmage. They're not out there looking to score points. They're out there looking to work on things, and that's what folks get confused about with some of this stuff. So, um, I thought Micah in the Jet game was great. I think Micah's a guy that they're going to lean on heavily with the gameplay and stuff. Those quick now screens, tunnel screens, jet stuff that wouldn't shock me if they let him throw the ball a little bit if he can throw. He's a guy that's going to make a lot of his. He's a guy that's going to make a lot of his best plays behind the line of scrimmage, and then be set up as a punt returner. And I think that's a good thing. They need that. They've needed that kind of guy who can make a guy miss and could take some of the pressure off the offensive line as the D line's got their ears pinned back and getting up the field. They can just chuck the ball out there and let him get 4 or 5 yards
Yeah.
in that punt return kind of role. So I think he's going to be a big plus for them, assuming they keep healthy. And he got dinged up right in the beginning of the scrimmage, which sucks. But yeah, I'll get to you in a second there, Maximus. We'll talk about the defense here in a minute. We're talking about the wide receivers right now. So if you want to scroll back like 3 minutes, you'll be able to catch up. Other than that, I thought Pokey looked like Pokey. Nobody else really jumped out to me. I'm excited to go back and look at the film review when we do the film review and look at them a little bit deeper. I still think they're asking about Dugans right now in the chat. I mean, I don't think Dugans is a great wide receivers coach, and I wish they would have gotten rid of him. And my opinion hadn't changed on that at all.
Yep.
And it's not going to change on that. So they went with consistency when they couldn't get the dude that's up there at Penn State. They went to Jawan Sider. They went with consistency, and I think that was one of the ones that they needed to be inconsistent with and go find a new wide receivers coach. But
yeah, I think
anyway, they also need to go get some more talent in that position. I mean, I think we all agree with that.
And yeah, I'm not sure who you want as a wide receiver coach, but I would take someone who could either recruit or coach. But
yeah,
yeah, I don't want to hit on the guy too much, but being in the state of Florida, the wide receiver room should never be your weakest room. Like it shouldn't. Like there are wide receivers in this state. Go get them.
Right.
But yeah, I think some of the guys that Pokey and Helton are known quantities. Hopefully they can be consistent guys for you, consistent 3s and 4s. I think if you can get them lined up against safeties and linebackers, you can win some things. And hopefully someone like Micah Pittman and Ja'Kai Douglas stepping up, and even Johnny Wilson Jr. just being in the back of defensive minds can help get better matchups for other guys. Hopefully that's something that pans out in the future. I am hopeful that part of what you're seeing is just, I thought the secondary looked good. I thought, I mean, you have a 5-star and a guy who should have been a 5-star as your second string cornerbacks. And I really don't have a problem with that. Like,
no, either.
I don't think they're better than Duke or even Renardo Green right now. And so I think you have 4 corners right now that are just are pretty darn good and going to give teams trouble. And then you have safeties. I thought McClellan looked really good today.
Yeah.
I guess we're transitioning to the defense. I thought
That's fine.
McClellan looked good. I thought outside of that, like the secondary looked so good, it was even hard to point out specifics of who looked good because
Jamie Robinson might be the best safety in the ACC. I think Akeem Dent's going to make a big leap this year as they have some consistency back there. And I mean, the hell of it is we didn't even get to see, well, the thing that we didn't get to see today was some of that under coverage from the linebackers, which is disappointing. I would have liked to have seen that. Obviously, Tatum Bethune didn't participate. I believe he may have a bone bruise or something like that in his foot. But he's fine. He's this is one of those things. They didn't need to see him play today. He's upgraded that room immensely.
And they didn't need. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce the name. Duquesne. Duquesne. Huh? They didn't need Duquesne to see him either.
No.
Some long-term scheme in there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your takes on the secondary. I think that you've got a group there that you feel good about. I think McCall and Thomas still looked raw at times of the day.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's
but
what we've been
again,
seeing at practice.
yeah, but you've got another 5 months now to kind of work on them and get some more consistency. But they look like guys that aren't going to be major liabilities when they go out there. What concerns me with the secondary is they're playing a ton of man.
Yep.
They're playing a ton of man. What happens when they get in these games and they're running their cover four stuff? Where does some of that when does some of that youth show up? That worries me for the season. It's going to worry me until I see them go out there and do it. Um, and you have young guys in that secondary still. It's up front, at the corner position, at the safety position, you've got vets. You've got three guys that I think they played a ton of football, and I think that's as good a tandem as there is in the ACC. Maybe not college football altogether. With Dent and Robinson. Maybe that's a bold statement, but I
AB,
think
your
highly of those two.
microphone is occasionally doing that thing.
Oh, okay, sorry, I'm rubbing on the plug there. So yeah, I think that your safety tandem's going to mask a lot of the issues you might run into with your corner group, but I do think the corner group's going to be good. Let's talk about the D line. Somebody asked
Yep.
earlier about Jared Verse. Jared Verse is a big physical freak. He gets out of position. He gets pinned sometimes, which is a problem, and you're gonna have to work on that. But overall, he looks like a player. Dennis Briggs is, I think Dennis Briggs is an upgrade at Fox, and I know that I don't mean that as a knock against Keir Thomas, who I absolutely loved last year, but I think Dennis Briggs is a really good defensive lineman. And I think he's going to make a big difference over there.
Yeah, I think. Shoot, I know there was a lot of concern about the defensive end room, and even before the spring started, it seemed like people were like, "Do we need to take another defensive end in the portal?"
Hell no.
But what I'm seeing is that you've got someone like Jared Verse, who's like a true rush end. Then you have someone like Dennis Briggs, who's a true fox. And then I think you could put McClendon either place. And you have three solid guys you can rotate between the three. And at any point in time, kind of get a different strength out of them, right? Like bump Dennis Briggs down to three, have McClendon, Verse, and Briggs as three of your defensive linemen. Heck, you could probably rush three and drop eight in a lot of third down situations with that. And that's pretty crazy. That's a hard pass rush to meet. And I truly think that what I've been seeing from this defense is a top 25 unit.
Mm-hmm.
I think the safeties are maybe top 10. I think your corners, if they click, can be a top 25 unit. I think your defensive line is a top 15 unit. Like outside the SEC, you're not going to see defensive lines like ours very often. So, exciting stuff there.
Sorry, I'm answering a few questions here in the chat. Let's talk about them. Maximus 1318 asked if we think that there's too much pressure from fans on Verse to produce like our past transfer guys. Is there a lot of pressure? Yes. I think he's equipped for it though. The kid he's very mature. I don't think he's going to be Jermaine Johnson this year, but I think he's still going to have a really good year.
And I think the positive is that Derek McClendon is significantly better as a backup than Jermaine Johnson. We saw last year a lot of times Jermaine would be in, that first defensive line would be in and kind of hold him, and then we'd have to rotate other guys in because you can't play every snap of a game,
right?
And we would just get gashed. And I don't think you have that drop off this year.
Right. Gator Kirk asked if our defensive line is as good as Clemson's. I think it's just a notch below. Clemson's is elite. The whatever the kid with his name starts with a B. That was a 5-star a couple years ago. I can't think of his name right now. Who plays nose for them is really good, or I guess maybe he'll play some 3-tech this year because they ran a lot of 4-man stuff today. If you watch them, I mean, Xavier Thomas is really good. Miles Murphy is really good. I mean, their D line is full of 5-stars. So
their defense is still going to be a top 10
Yeah.
unit probably.
Yep. I don't think our D line's as good as theirs, but I think it's the second best in the ACC and a notch just below theirs. I thought the defensive tackle group looked really, really deep today.
Oh man.
I mean, outside of Cooper and Lovett, then you roll in Farmer, then you roll in Ray, then Jared Jackson. I think that group's really good.
Yeah.
I'm very, very high on this defensive line. I want to see them playing the run a little bit better. And I think that they will. That was a problem for them at times last year, but that also incorporates the linebackers, which I do expect to be better. So I think they're going to be an improved group overall. How did David Kelch ask how did Cade Lyles looked? I don't want to talk too much about offensive linemen. I want to go back and look at that some more. Off the hoof, I thought he looked okay. Snaps were good, which is an improvement from last year. I didn't see any like glaring blowups for him. So, but I want to go back and look at that more. Maximus, are they higher than the secondary? Yeah, I think the defensive line is better than the secondary as a whole. As a whole,
I think it really depends on what happens with McCall and Thomas.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just more known quantities at the defensive line position that you don't quite have in the secondary. But
it's a deeper group, in my opinion. I mean, you're rolling 6 deep at D tackle, and I mean, you probably have 5 guys at the end that you feel comfortable playing.
And then you have 5 corners you're comfortable playing. But
yeah.
that's a position that requires more substitution, and so
right.
And even 2 of those 5 are freshmen, which is isn't ideal. So,
Right. Keep rolling some questions in here, guys. I mean, overall, I'm pleased with what this scrimmage was. I think Kev, you sound like you're pleased.
Yeah, I think the defense looked really solid. I think the offense is where we thought it would be.
Might have a special guest jumping on here.
Who's that?
You'll see. You'll see.
You'll
see. Might get a little Wyatt Rector talk here in a second.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's probably why we got a big bump in viewers here in the past few minutes.
Yeah, must be. How did Micah do? From Tyler Thrasher. I thought Micah looked good. I mean, I don't think Micah's going to be that wide receiver, at least not initially, that we're going to see him getting down the field, making all kinds of traditional wide receiver type plays. But I think he's a guy that you can depend on to game plan around, to do things like slip screens, tunnel screens, jet plays, that kind of stuff. I think he's going to be a punt return kind of receiver that they're going to utilize to get chunk plays from. And I think that that's valuable.
And he has a sense of composure that other wide receivers don't seem to have. He has a sense of, he seems to me like a guy that's going to step up in the biggest moments. So
shoot.
Look, Tomahawk Nation. Hey, Tomahawk Nation. Yeah, I think Pittman's an interesting case. I think he's always been that guy that is just, he's going to get you that 30-yard play. He's going to catch the balls over the middle. He's going to do the little things. I don't think he's like that twitchy elite, like Percy Harvin athlete, but I think he is kind of a guy you can build around in the sense of a guy you can get the ball in his hands and he'll make something happen. He's going to get positive yards. He's going to figure out where the holes are on a defense. To me, he's like the Trayshawn Ward of a wide receiver. Like, you hand him the ball, he's going to find the hole, he's going to get there. Oh, we've got 3 people on here.
We do.
Hey.
We have a special guest joining us.
Hello, gentlemen.
Walking right out the stadium.
Yeah, this is as on-scene reporting as you can get. I'm just walking around with a box of booze aimlessly, just kind of
Hey, this is a family-friendly show, Brendan.
Is alcohol not family friendly? I think a lot of families are started from alcohol, to be honest.
All right, Brendan, we're talking, and you guys are going to do your own thing tonight, right? On Knowles 24/7, dropping an OTB kind of instant at some point.
Maybe. I don't know if it's going to be instant. We'll call it an instant tomorrow. I don't know if it still constitutes as instant, but we'll do something eventually. But for now, I'm honored to be on yet again.
Yeah, man.
Triple option.
So, what were your thoughts? What are your takeaways?
Tough to take away much from the passing game. Didn't look super great. Thought the wind kind of played a little bit of a factor, but
Yeah.
It's gonna be windy at games sometimes. So it wasn't great, but going into the game, we knew the offensive line was dinged up, and I think that kind of played the biggest factor, right? Like just not a whole lot of clean pockets, especially for J-Trav, and tough to glean much from that. Honestly, it was a lot like the last 10 practices or so were like the run game was okay, passing game meh, defensive line really good, and then the newcomers, the transfers kind of did what they were expected. Trey Benson especially, we talked about him on the triple option episode the other day, right? And he was as good as advertised. So that's my rapid thoughts. AB, were you giddy over Trey Benson as giddy as I was?
I was, but I was telling everybody earlier. I actually thought that there's a little bit of fool's gold there because they ran so much cover 2 man under that I thought that some of those outside runs were a little bit misleading in what they're going to see. Typically, I thought he bounced a lot of stuff and looked explosive, but I actually thought Toafili looked really good today.
Very patient, Toafili has become, as a runner. Yeah.
Which was a big concern of ours. That was, I think, one of the reasons he probably didn't get a lot of run last year.
I actually thought the offense as a whole, the offense as a whole looked a lot better from the kind of the makeup of it. A lot of motion, more jet action, which I'm a big fan of. I thought there was some more diversity in the run game, which we talked about the other night.
Some outside zone.
Yeah, I was very pleased in some of the changes that I think Alex Atkins has kind of helped to incorporate with Mike.
Oh, that's an Alex Atkins thing.
I think so. Well, I mean,
he did a lot of
it's been a Mike thing. But explain to me. I mean, I obviously Kenny had some sway that they've gone away from this stuff. The last couple of years, and now it's kind of made its way back. With Alex's OC. So I do think that there's got to have been some play by Alex to get some of that stuff in there.
That makes sense. So Alex Atkins with the changing things up a little bit. I'm trying to think of like what else, like storylines. That was one of them. I'm trying to think of other storylines I know we were interested in this spring. That kind
the
of
offensive line.
Today. I don't know what else.
The offensive line.
Yeah.
We've kind of said that I thought they played better than what I was expecting them to do. I thought that the main ones we talk about, Bless Harris, Kane Lyles, Maurice Smith, Dylan Gibbons, Robert Scott. I thought they held up better than I was anticipating them holding up. But it wasn't great. They still need to get better there. I think that you still need to bring a guy in or two to strengthen that position, because after those guys, it really, Zane Herring in there with the first group was ugly. Let's just call it what it is.
Yep.
I don't think we changed our minds we didn't change our minds on the wide receiver group, did we?
No, I mean, I think, so going into it, like we thought that they hit on Micah Pittman. I think that was clear today that he's going to bring some level of value, right? But overall, I think you'd still, maybe you talked about this the other day, still like one more. I think that's very reasonable at this point, especially Winston Wright's status being TBD.
Yeah.
Having Winston Wright would be huge for this offense. I just don't think that. I think Pittman's good, but I just don't think you want him being wide receiver 1, right? I think you want him as a gadget player you can put anywhere on the field, kind of get those matchups. I don't think with him as the number 1 receiver, you just don't get those favorable matchups
as much. And then Johnny Wilson was we've talked about good Johnny, bad Johnny. Today was an example of bad Johnny. So he'll still be a factor, but maybe just not believing that's a guy we can trust consistently now.
I said to Kev, though, if Tate hits him in the back of the end zone there towards the end, does the narrative change? Does the narrative change on him?
I think it's just good day, bad day for him. I mean, that's from day to day. Like he's going to have, that's practice to practice. Like he'll have good moments, bad. I think this is kind of be what you're going to get is the boom bust ratio for him, which there's a reason why a 6'7" top 100 recruit, former top 100 recruit was available in the portal, because there's some inherent flaws to his game.
Yeah.
But something about Johnny that you have to keep in mind is that his presence creates, like, as a defensive coordinator, you can't ignore him even if you're getting a bad Johnny day, right? Like, I guess you can say, whatever, I'll put my number 2, number 3 guy on him, but then that's risky, right? If he does make the catch, he's a 6'7" steamroller down the field.
You're going to have to be very confident if you are going to leave him one-on-one consistently, like with that guy who is. You probably have to dedicate a number 1 to him or have someone over top. I did think that's like a thing, guys, like as we kind of take away from this entire spring, like they're going to have guys to game plan around. And I'm talking about in the passing game too. And I don't know if it's going to be great game plans, but when there were times last year where they're just throwing, what on the wall to see family show, Kev, on the wall, just like hoping like that it would just work within a scheme. Like so you have I think 3 or 4 options you can go into each week with and be like, okay, we could try to isolate these guys, try to develop things with different options and checkdowns and whatnot for these guys. So I think there's stuff there in addition to the run game, which we saw again today, like probably will be solid again this year.
Yeah. But what about the tight end passing game?
Oh, guys, when Wyatt Rector.
Shout your boy out because he's got to be in here watching. I know he is.
When he was breaking free downfield there, I was about to take Zach Blaustein and throw him through the 9th story of the press box. But if we go back and at least like when he was in there, I'd pay some attention. You can't watch like one person the entire game, but I was like, I want to see how he does blocking. And I thought he did a really nice job blocking when I did focus on him. Cam McDonald had a nice day, and he's, when Cam's engaged and has like confidence as a receiver, he's had a few really nice days in the spring, and that's shown there. Like if that's your 1-2, like it's not an average group in the Power 5, but it's not this glaring awful one either. If Wyatt blocks the way he does and Cam catches the way he did today, like I think you can mess with that. Okay, saw the Jackson West drop today. That's kind of been, Kev knows, like that's kind of been a thing this spring. So I just realized I'm very lurky here in the shadow. I want to show you guys like what's happening on the bench right now. There's a bunch of recruiting stuff, but I'm trying to lurk here and wait for the recruits to go to show you the great Chris Nee in action. But that doesn't look like it's going to happen.
That's all right. Go ahead, just get in there. Tell Chris to get in here. Let's give the big bear a big man hug.
Hang on. Oh no, he's walking to recruit. He's leaving me.
How was in general? We're not as much of a recruiting show, but in general, has the recruiting been a positive today or?
Zach said it's been a really like solid day with quantity. The quality hasn't been great, but like it's been okay, just not star-studded. Like there's a few guys that the big thing that I think that's going to come out of the next 48 hours here, it's on the Knowles 24/7 board right now, is that the Georgia message board is focusing on Marius Mims possibly. And guys, if that happens, this isn't me reporting it, but if he enters the portal, I think FSU is right in the mix right away because the relationship Alex Atkins really built with him as a recruit. So that's something to keep an eye on. That might be the biggest like development of the day. Not even a recruit who's here on campus. Not even a recruit who's in the portal yet. So let's see. But there's
he's likely a day one starter at tackle for you. Oh,
you would think so at the very least. And I don't want to overemphasize it. I'm not gonna couch it either. If that dude makes it to campus, the hype machine would be legit for him because Georgia likes him. They don't want him to leave, from my understanding. They think highly of him for the future. It's going to take a little while to play there, whereas here, he'll have a chance right away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're saying we 100% are landing this transfer from Georgia, that I should tweet that you said that, quote unquote. Okay, yeah, thanks.
Kev, are you a Knowles 24/7 message boarder now?
No, I'm not.
I feel like my words got misconstrued very quickly there. Like it was on my message board. AB knows what I'm talking about.
I do.
AB, what did you think of YY today? That was a nice little day, right?
I thought he had a nice day. I tried to put it as eloquently as I could earlier. You've been on that train, and I think that you kind of deserve credit for getting that win. He's a kid that's developed. He came here as a quarterback, a guy that's never played tight end. He's had to learn how to block. He's had to learn how to catch. He's had to learn how to do all those things. And I think that it's overall a general positive. Not having to play Preston Daniel is a good thing because Preston's a very below average blocker. Now, I'm not trying to nail that young man to the wall, but
yeah, you are.
Okay, I am. He's a very below average blocker. I think Wyatt's a better athlete than he is. Ultimately you would like Jackson West to develop and learn how to catch, but he's just not there yet still. So I think Rector at least gives you a guy that you can run some 12 personnel with, which is a good thing.
I think that was my ultimate takeaway with it. Like the main point I was trying to make the last couple of years was like, not that Rector was going to be great, but like that there was 100 or so snaps to be taken that should have been taken by him and not the other guy. And I think that's more what I was going with.
I agree.
I think I
Hang on. Real quick here, guys. Chris, you're on the triple option right now.
Hi.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Tell them what you thought about the spring game. Talking to my face right here.
I enjoyed the rushing attack. It was enjoyable. Jared Verse is as advertised. And it's a spring game. It's a practice. We don't need to make too much of a glorified practice, especially one where they really only ran probably 75 to 90 plays that actually mattered on the day.
Mm-hmm. Of which there was probably 5 plays over and over.
They agreed with you. All
Yeah,
right,
they ran
thanks.
that toss sweep a lot.
Yeah.
Check is in the mail for the appearance fee.
Hey, Brendan, I wanna take a reasoned take with Wyatt Rector. I think he's gonna win the Heisman, and
Good.
Very reasoned.
There may be
I don't
a
want to
version,
hype him up
of,
too much, but if he doesn't win the Heisman, he's probably gonna make it to New York regardless. But you know, I'm trying to keep expectations reasonable for the kid. A lot of pressure.
I think a 5th place finish, like at least, is reasonable. Yeah, I think of New York.
Yeah, I'd be kind of
for all
disappointed
us,
with 5th place, but that's kind of where I stand with him.
That's worst case scenario. Let's be honest. There may be a version of NCAA football where
2023, it's coming.
But yeah, guys, I don't know. Like today was a spring game, right? I mean, I think that's like the main thing. And Kev's talked about this like before. Like, there's only so much to glean like from this type of environment, I guess. You know, but I thought culturally, like the program is moving in a good direction. Ultimately, like whether it moves in a fast enough direction, TBD. But like guys are bought in under Mike Norvell. This program plays hard. There's good things going on here. So yeah, it's overall positive. Again, fast enough. We'll see, but.
And I think there's something you have to keep in mind.
Corey Clark, what up?
They're all coming on. I think he needs to sign a non-disclosure agreement.
You just got Corey fined for making an appearance on somebody else's show.
I think we need an NDA signed for him. Go back. Yeah, I think the last coach that was here made these spring games into events that were very viewer friendly. The current coaching staff is not as interested in doing that. I think that reflects on kind of the feeling you get leaving the spring game, right? Our spring games a few years back felt like there were hype machines. This one's not as much. You get kind of a real feeling like this is just practice. This is these kids out here working. So there's goods and bads to that, but I don't think we should take the like general feeling of like, hey, this felt a little lethargic, like this was just a practice. Too much, because that's what they wanted. That's what they were like. We're going to use this day to get better.
Right, I agree. I think like I'll give the Notes 24/7 message boards a lot of credit. Like I think for the most part, like they seem pretty cool with like everything that's developed there. Like they weren't too crazy like today. Like seeing like I think the passing was a little disappointing, but I think for the most part, like fans kind of got like, hey, team looks bigger, looks faster, looks more cohesive. Like there's still room to grow. I'm not sure if the Twitter felt the same way, but. You know,
that was my greatest takeaway. They look like a ACC football team finally. And I know that's not a high ceiling, but I think it's a good floor for where they've kind of been over the last few years and how they've had to recruit and kind of dig their way out of this massive hole. Right. To say in year 3 that you're in the kind of, I think, in the middle of the pack of the ACC is a good spot for them. Again, we'll see if that's enough and whether they can go accomplish that record-wise. But I think it's a good place to be right now in the spring.
They weren't there a year ago. They definitely weren't there 2 years ago. 3 years ago, they were there. So, like, again, if we're talking about like just trajectory or if you're moving in the right direction, yes, you're moving in the right direction. Like, I think there is upward growth here. Again, what's the floor? What's the ceiling? That still remains to be seen. But you have moved everything up a little bit, which is good. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we are going to call it an evening.
You want me to just leave, guys? Do you want to keep going? How about that? I'll get out of here.
No. We were done. We've been on for about an hour now, so we like to go no longer than that on our instant reactions.
Yeah, this is quite a long instant reaction, and
but it's good combo.
I didn't realize we'd be visited by such an esteemed guest.
I told Brendan earlier, stop by if you got the time. So
I did. I was going down the elevator, realized it was maybe within timing of. I'm going to stop talking. I made your last show go too long. I'm going to stop talking on this one go too long. I'll get out of here.
All right, buddy.
See you, man.
Yeah, have a good
one.
All right,
bye, guys. Thanks for having me.
So we turned it into an interview show here. So I hope you guys.
Sorry, Kev.
Yeah, no. Mask vaccine microchip. We are not a garbage university. We are a clown college. So get it right.
I blocked that, guys.
Dang. So yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. I think
Absolutely.
we had a really good time. There were some questions that we missed, but please reach out to me on Twitter, comment in the video below some questions you might have, and we'll try to address them in the film review that we do later this week. So we're going to take all of the snaps from the film, from the spring game. We're going to look into it obsessively, and you're going to ride with us as we kind of in real time determine some a little bit more concrete takeaways from the spring game. So thanks for joining us. Check back with us next week. It's what we do best. It's what we're known for, the film review. And leave some comments, some questions below. Thanks.
See you guys. Keep chopping.